The Super Metal Brothers podcast is the best. Really great stuff. I was in my car listening, and I was like, there just is not a better podcast.
All right, this is episode... What fucking episode is this? It feels like we've done a lot.
Well, the first summon sign was episode 10, believe it or not.
Okay, so we've hit 10 episosts.
Yeah.
Holy shit, who would have thought?
Milestone, man.
I thought we definitely would have had a falling out by episode 5.
Hey, we still might.
Yeah, we still might. All right, so welcome to Super Metal
Your wife's
Brothers.
a fucking bitch. Well, fuck you. I don't want to do this podcast no more.
Yeah. Welcome to Super Metal Brothers, episode whatever it is. And we are here for the split EP review of Lil Kool Aid, Going Ghost, as well as Leyka, Requiem. I gotta say it like
you said that right this time, dude.
Yeah, because I was saying Requiem.
Leyka, Requiem for a Cream.
Yeah, so we're going a little bit more in depth this time. We're starting off with interviews, which we just got done with our interview with Leyka, and we already have out the interview with Lil Kool Aid. So go check those out if you haven't heard them for some more stuff about the bands and pasts and influences, all that different type of stuff, and also just some SMB banter where we talk about the bullshit that we always talk about. But also, this, we're going to do a review of both of those albums all at once. Since they're both about 5 songs, makes sense. It's about the same length as a normal album review.
Yeah.
And so the thing that we did as part of our interview, we talked to Noel from Lil Kool Aid, and he told us to, he's really into anime.
Our earliest adaptations of getting into anime were, Akira, Ninja Scroll, Record of Lodoss War. So the really like gritty, fucking violent ones that we should not have been watching as children. So Noel, during the course of our interview, G-Spot had asked for some recommendations for some newer ones that he might be able to get into. One of the recommendations was Attack on Titan, which I've already seen, but I was really excited to see what your takeaway from Attack on Titan was going to be, man.
So, well, I can see why somebody would like it. Anime always has like the good character build and stuff. So, and we talked about that the other day. Like,
yeah,
the characters are definitely well built. Like Mikasa is like my shit. I think she's awesome.
Every she time goes she hard in the fucking paint, dude.
Yeah, and also what's the other guy? Eric.
Well, Aaron's like the main character, and then Levi's the one that goes
Levi.
hard.
That's who I was thinking of. Levi. Yeah, Aaron's kind of a bitch. Like, he definitely is a bitch. The only thing cool about him is he turns into a fucking Titan. That's about it. Otherwise, it's just like it's a lot of him overthinking shit, and it's
yeah.
So like, okay, so I haven't watched anime in years. So to preface this, so I go into Attack on Titan and I'm just like, hold on, Mike, fuck out. Jesus Christ.
The cat just experienced some Attack on Titan, dude.
Oh shit. Yeah. I mean, well, that's funny you say that because that's exactly the way I thought when like Attack on Titan, I was like, this is what my cat experiences every day when I'm walking around my house naked. Except I have genitals. That's about the only difference.
Dude,
yeah.
So I had because I went back and rewatched some of it too. And I mean, like I was kind of saying in the interview, like it's intriguing. It's like because they made such a ridiculous fucking, theme or plot, like, into an anime. You have to suspend some disbelief, which is really the case for a lot of animes, but really more so in particular for Attack on Titan. And but the premise is just like these mindless, fucking naked people just roaming around eating motherfuckers. But I had a funny ass thought because I had noticed like all the Titans just have like really goofy ass like facial features. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, wow, they did a really good job of like making all the Titans look like what could potentially be a pedophile.
Yeah, like they all do look like pedophiles.
Yeah, dude. Like I was like, if I had to imagine what a like pedophile would look like, dude, is like basically all the Titans. And was fucking hilarious about it. I had this different thought, so stick with me here. Okay, the world, the setting, the characters of Attack on Titan all remain the same. But instead of like the Titans coming and eating people, it's just like big dudes come to fuck the little people. By the way, because people people take us way too seriously, so we have to predicate with this with we don't condone fucking pedophiles or pedophilia.
No, or beating women.
Yeah.
That's another one that's happened on social media recently. Like we posted a video about
what was that dude's fucking problem?
I don't know if it was a dude, but it was just like we posted a short about the Kal-El of the 5'9's mosh pit legend.
Right.
Who, you know, we call him a legend, but really he's a piece of shit going around like punching people in the mosh pit. But he's a legend just because he has juggernaut like strength and just plows through fucking mosh pits. So that's one thing. But like he ends up hitting a chick, which as we've all seen, that happens in mosh pits all the fucking time. Like chicks are just like young lady is just in the wrong place at the wrong time and gets friggin' roundhouse kicked in the face. I don't know how many times I've seen it. It doesn't just happen to ladies either. It happens to friggin' dudes too. Dudes that shouldn't be in there as well. But yeah, someone thought like, oh, what a legend, you know, hitting women was the comment on the short.
Yeah, that was like, the takeaway from it. It's like
that wasn't the point. We weren't condoning his actions.
I like how I'm the piece of shit by proxy by just seeing a woman get fucking Superman punched too. It's like
you, Solaire. How dare you? You are not an advocate for women.
Well, it's like if you'd gone and listened to the episode, I even say I was like, I don't think this dude was like mid Superman punch. I don't think he could stop.
Yeah, I don't think
everybody else just got the fuck out of the way, and this poor girl just happened to fucking get hit with it, dude. That's just what happens, man. I don't think anybody was necessarily a piece of shit in this. I think it was an accident that it occurred. Either way, it was fucking hilarious, and I don't care.
Yeah,
like she'll be fine.
If somebody has a problem with it, is like I observed something happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely don't do it. So yeah, back to Attack on Titan though. So yeah, just that show. First off, and I'm gonna quote you on this. It's like, whoa, wait, like from the very beginning, it's like, wait a minute, I have questions. Like,
yeah,
like I have to accept immediately that there's giant naked people that are just running around eating people. There's really no background, or if there is, it's very brief. And then like you have these people who use wires to like Spider-Man around and fucking use what looks like a razor blade and they have to cut this very specific point on these giants' backs. Like this is very strange. But I was like, okay, this is anime. It gets weird. I'll let it be, right? So I'm making it through that. I'm like, okay, there's some cool parts. But you know how like the beginning is like the initial attack that gets them separated from their parents and all that stuff, or Eren gets separated from his parents. And then it goes into his training because now he's set, like I'm going to kill every fucking Titan that ever existed. Like is his immediate, which this guy, what a fucking drama queen, dude. Like I know your mom just got eaten, but like calm down a little bit, dude. Like this guy's like,
well, dude, he was like that. Like he was like that before his mom got eaten. Yeah. I actually kind of have a theory about that, dude. I think like that was one of my gripes with Princess Mononoke, was like the main character or whatever that's like just trying to solve like everybody's fucking problems, where I was like sitting there like, why the fuck does this guy care so much? Like I was like, this isn't even your fucking deal. But I have a theory that I think a lot of Japanese like artists, like whatever their art may be, that's like their only medium to put like all this like pent up emotion in, because like that shit's just illegal on the streets for Japanese people. That shit's not allowed.
So they put their inner thoughts on there.
Yeah.
I also thought about this. Imagine being a parent and you live in a world where there's giant naked people that eat people, right?
Yeah.
And you being like in your house and like looking at your kids and be like, why don't you fuckers go outside and play?
Like I've had enough of your shit, dude.
I've had enough of your shit. Go possibly get eaten by a fucking giant, all right? Because that's basically what you're telling your kids. No, but what I was getting at earlier is like, so he goes through his training, right? Him and Mikasa like are going through their training, and there's like the ultimate test that they have, and it's like just balancing on two wires. I was like, how is that not fucking hard. That is not hard. Like they were like, oh, if you don't pass this test, you can't be a scout or whatever it was. I was like,
Yeah.
that seems
Well, no,
pretty fucking easy to me.
I think you're missing some context because I think the point of that was that yeah, I mean the premise of that, just like that as an activity, is weird as fuck. But I think with Aaron in particular, like someone had sabotaged like his kit. So in some way that it should have been like basically impossible for him to balance on. So I think that's
Maybe.
why it was like such a big deal. I don't know.
Yeah, someone did. He had somebody else's kid or something like that, but still, it's like that's not a test. Like, oh, if we don't get because Aaron was very worried about it. He's like, I don't know if this is gonna work out.
Yeah,
there's
not like
three
the
episodes of
flying
him.
like fucking like, you know, Mach 3 velocities
Yeah.
through the air with fucking like blades and
Yeah.
trying to like cut a tight. It's like,
Yeah,
nope.
that's the equivalent. That's the equivalent of the dodgeball. If you can't dodge a wrench, you can't dodge a ball. It like makes if you can't balance from these wires, you can't do anything else. Okay, yeah, sure, but that's not a very good test. It doesn't really make sense. Yeah, the other part about it that I don't know, maybe I enjoy is the 3 episodes of thinking.
Yeah.
They just like are in their heads for 3 minutes or 3 episodes rather.
Yeah, but it's like an eternity.
Yeah, they're like, we got to get out of here. Like the building's collapsing. Like literally, the ceiling is actually in the act of falling, and they're like, but first, let's think about this for 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I had that power, dude. Like whenever like I sense like me and my wife are about to get into an argument and I could just like slow down time and be like, oh no, I gotta think about it. She's like, she's biting her lips again. What am I gonna do? And then it like goes back to like 2 years ago, back when we were happy in our marriage. And I start to think of like a way and I'm like, oh, and there's like this sense of insight. I'm like, that's what I say. And then it fast forwards. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, imagine like my wife walking in and going, "Are you going to take out the trash?" And then it's like, like all of a sudden it's just like slow-mo, and I'm like, if I say no, I'm probably not going to get any ass for a while.
Yeah, what are
But
the implications?
what are the implications of this? If I say yes, then I'll be a little bitch. What do I say? But what is she going to think? Like all these.
But then it takes you again to like 5 years ago when she asked you to take out the trash and you were like, yeah, sure.
And then she started expecting you to take out the trash every day, and it shows every time for the last year that you took out the trash.
Yeah.
And you're just, feel defeated by it, and then like it finally goes back to reality and you're like, sure.
Yeah.
So that's exactly how the show is.
Yeah, right. It's so like, here's the obvious way out of this, right? But let's fucking really contemplate it before
let's
we
really
do
contemplate
it.
this really obvious shit. It's like, you're going to take out the trash, dude.
Like, should I move under this collapsing building?
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. Let's go explore our past traumas first to figure it out.
And that happens in Attack on Titan. Like there's that
happens in like virtually every anime. That's like.
But the specific I'm talking about is when they actually ask him, they find out he's a Titan, Aaron's a Titan, and the like main guard guy is like, are you a human? And he goes through 3 episodes of thinking about it. And then finally he just goes, yes. It's like, my whole life is riding on this.
Well, they try to be like very philosophical. It's like, am I human?
Yeah.
What differentiates me from a Titan, I wonder?
What is a human? Are Titans human? I don't know. Yeah. Anyways.
All right. Well, that was a fun convo. Let's get into these reviews, dude, because these people have been waiting on this shit for a minute, dude.
Yeah. We've been talking about this for like a month.
Cool. So the way we got this kind of set up today is we kind of split. Well, obviously we're doing the split review, but we kind of took that literally too, in that I decided myself, I would focus on Going Ghost by Lil Kool Aid. On the offset of that, G-Spot decided to concentrate more on Leyka and Requiem. And the point of this is, we could each give, without distracting ourselves from both at the same time, we would just hyper focus on one each. And, hopefully give it honest to God reviews that it deserves. So right now we're going to get right into Going Ghost EP by Lil Kool Aid. If anybody's interested, we got a lot of great information from Noel and Alex in our interview, Summon Sign number 1. If anybody's interested in watching that, we'll put a link in the description, and there'll also be a link at the the end of the video that you guys can check out for this. If you're on Spotify, fuck you, I guess. Just go look it up. But anyways, all right. So Lil Kool Aid. The members right now consist of Noel McCormick, who is the guitarist and founder, and Alex Esparza, who does drums and production and a lot more of the back end sound stuff as well. And they've also told us that they have another member, a vocalist, who's done quite a bit of the vocals for their next released, spoiler alert, that they're currently working on, which is going to be a full length. So now getting into Going Ghost, this is their first release. The whole inception of it kind of just started with Noel as before him and Alex linked up online. So my understanding is the EP has kind of been 3 years in the making, with about 6 months to a year of actual dedicated execution, which is pretty phenomenal to get a 5 tracks that sound this good out in that amount of time. I think is pretty well done. Okay, so the theme of the EP, Going Ghost, and this is a quote from Noel himself: "Going Ghost is very much about my complications with PTSD, and it's actually about me returning to a dark place within my childhood." The EP is also based around the fact that Noel has written over 200 poems that he has now given life to by cultivating their vibes into this metal project. And then from there, that's kind of just the basic rundown of what Going Ghost is, and then we're just going to get into the track by track. Going Ghost has 5 tracks. The first track, Acid Downpour. Second track, Going Ghost. At third, we have Dark Magician. Fourth, Yamato. And finally, it ends on the 5th track, Spite. So we begin with Acid Downpour, which is featuring Andrew Patterson of Unalesca and Logan Adams, he has some musical projects, but I think he's more so known for being a YouTube vocalist, doing covers and random kind of music projects. Andrew Patterson, his band Unalesca he does vocals and guitars for, but I think this part he actually does the harsh vocals within this song. So at this time, just to give you guys kind of an understanding, they didn't have a dedicated vocalist, so they had to outsource to feature vocalists for every track. This is the one-off that they kind of had, while 4 tracks that follow this are all featuring Damien Dilami, I think is how you pronounce it, or Dilami, yeah, something like that, who's also another YouTube vocalist, and he has a project known as Moon Presence. Acid Downpour, this was the first song written by Noel. The song was inspired by his poems. This is a quote from Noel saying, "Acid Downpour refers to an unfortunate but eye-opening relationship." The song begins with kind of this slow guitar build-up paired with like a lot of rain ambience. It almost feels like very melancholy is kind of the vibe you get the way it starts out, and then it kind of goes in this very genty verse. So I'm going to play just basically the first minute of this song so you can get those vibes I'm talking about.
Super genty, dude.
Yeah. Then wait for it. You'll get this tempo change right here. Go ahead, pause it there. Yeah, so I love that build up in the beginning because, like I said, it has kind of those melancholy vibes. But then I don't know if you notice, after that tempo change, they're at around like the 36 mark where it gets like that groovy gent riff going. So there's these like keys that are kind of played in the back that mirror the beginning riff, like that beginning build up and the melancholy riff that I was talking about. There's like these little keys that are kind of played in the background that I noticed that have the same like progression. I really enjoyed that. So when we had spoken to Noel, he had talked about like one of his influences, John Brown from Monuments, how he has these sections that are kind of split apart and they're kind of the same idea, but they're played like differently. So that's like kind of a good example of that. I think he wanted to portray, and now that I listen to it more, like I'm like, okay, I can see these nuances that he's talking about.
Yeah, for that clip though, the very beginning, so everybody knows I'm more of a reactor for this review. I have heard this EP in the past, but I haven't listened to it in a while, so I'm kind of being reintroduced to it. The beginning, that kind of synthy sound in the background gives me total like Final Fantasy vibes.
Yeah, dude.
It has that Final Fantasy VII vibes, to be specific, the old school one. And it's just very chaotic, genty in a good way. It just kind of goes like a bunch of different directions. And, you know, knowing the background, you know, with the PTSD and stuff, definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
The mental anguish and all that stuff. So he definitely captured that pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the second part I want to play of this song is actually the chorus. Kind of shows Logan Adams and his range. So this chorus begins with like, it almost sounds like there's kind of some auto-tune flavor, which, I mean, for an album that's called Lil Kool Aid, like fucking colored me shocked. This is definitely one of my favorite moments off the album as well. So here it is. Yeah, I really like this chorus, and I really like this kind of goes back to Noel being a poet, because the lyrics are definitely arranged like, you know, poetry. I mean, I've said this before. What is, you know, metal? What is music if not poetry? But some people do it better than others. So the chorus, the lyrics go, "As the waters fills my lungs, you rain on me with perfect constructed lies at the bottom of this well. What am I to do but accept the lies you tell?" So I kind of took a lot from this, which was obviously he had mentioned being in a toxic relationship. So I can imagine him, you know, already having like all these stressful situations with life, with PTSD. And then you have this toxic person in your life that is just putting more pressure on top of you while you're already basically drowning amidst all your other problems. Noel, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Been there myself, buddy. That really provides a lot of good insight. And I think that's what makes these songs, especially for metal songs, so special, is when you can really feel the pain that the writer is going through, if they can put it into words that in a way that you can understand and you can kind of feel it from them. Overall, just a great song to start off the EP. What's great about it is that it really eases you into the album, in the sense it's a very, you know, rhythmic gent with like siren song melodies that come in, that's like kind of palatable for everybody. Because the thing with this EP is it really kind of toes the line between metalcore and deathcore to bring something that everybody will enjoy. You know, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it's really one or the either. I mean, people can make the argument, but I think the takeaway is both people from deathcore and metalcore can enjoy this album. Now going into the next track, this is the title track known as Going Ghost. This is where we get consistent vocals comes in on this one. This is a quote from Noel saying, "Going Ghost is very much about my complications with PTSD." Yeah, the PTSD really relates to this song in particular, but I kind of also, since this is the title track, kind of apply that to the overall EP as well, but this is kind of an more thorough explanation into the theme of the album. Again, really impressive lyrics on this one. Stressors overwhelmed, hair from black to white. And actually, Noel had kind of elaborated on this, that he said there was a point in his life where he was so fucking stressed out. If anybody's watched our interview, you know, Noel is African American, so he has, you know, black hair. So to be so fucking stressed out in your life that it's turning your hair white, dude, is fucking insane. I can't say I've ever had that problem. That's fucking crazy. Another little lyrical piece in this one: out of sight and out of mind, a cry for help echoes through time. Remember me for who I used to be. Just a super fucking catchy line. I'm going to go ahead and play an example. Yeah, so that's just kind of an example. So he made this to be, you know, very, I think it's kind of funny, but he really wrote these in ways to be super catchy, even though he's talking about how terrible his life is, basically, which I thought was kind of funny. There's also another little section in this that I want to highlight, and this just kind of shows like the versatility within the album, because one of the things that Noel had mentioned, that what he thinks makes a great song is unpredictability, and I saw that a lot within this EP. So here's this nice little blast beat section it goes into just out of nowhere. I'm gonna play that right Yeah, I love how it starts with that blast beat section and then goes back into like the genty groove right there, dude. Overall, just solid song, super groovy, super catchy, and Darian definitely does a good job vocally on this one. All right, now we're leaning into track 3, which is Dark Magician. This one again is featuring Darian, and this one has a nice little surprise feature by Mystique, who is kind of a bigger YouTube keyboardist, and then she's also in a band called Earthcaller. Quote from Noel on this song: Dark Magician talks about my distaste for Christianity, and then it's obviously a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. How that kind of ties into Christianity, not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh's like has any fuck Christian themes in Yu-Gi-Oh. They're throwing cards.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I would say for this one, the lyrics were probably a little more on the edgy side compared to, you know, the previous songs, Acid Downpour and Going Ghost. Definitely some distaste for organized religion, more so Christianity, and that's fine. That doesn't sway me.
Nah, I don't give a shit either.
Either way, I'm not a religious person, so I don't give a fuck.
It's really hard to be a fan in these genres if you have a distaste for that. So there's at a minimum there is going to be some definitely religion hate. I mean, it's kind of a general theme in our genres.
Like Noel, why can't we have just a good old fashioned fuck Allah song, dude?
Yeah,
we gotta call out Christianity, dude.
So like we can go back, but just to deviate a little bit, I was reading about Gideon, their new album, and I didn't realize that they used to be a Christian band. Yeah, they started off as one, and then they denounced being Christian. And the thing that they put out was that they have friends who obviously don't share their same beliefs and all those things, and they just couldn't wrap their head around the idea that those people wouldn't share, you know, paradise and heaven like they thought. So because of that, metal moved them away, which is exactly what the church thinks that metal's gonna do to you, is move you away from everything. But I just thought it was super interesting. It was like, holy crap, like an actual band that was like really Christian at one point just completely denounced the whole thing at some point and said, no, we're good with that, as a band too. I'm not sure how many member changes there were there. Like, it wasn't just an individual choice, it was a band choice. So.
I mean, they're not really the only ones either. Now, I mean, to actively kind of denounce it all is one thing, but like, you know, Devil, you had that whole wave of like Christian metalcore with, you know, August, Devil Wears Prada, Of Mice and Men, you know, that were all super popular. And I think it was easy. It almost felt like, sure, they didn't mean it this way, but it almost felt like a really clever marketing tactic in a way. It's like, look, maybe. Mom, I can listen to this because it's Christian, right? Devil Wears Prada has since, you know, said that they've shifted focus away from being a Christian metal band. I think they still believe in that, but they're just not highlighting that anymore about them. August is still very much so a Christian metalcore band, but like as we've talked about in the past, like you wouldn't know that unless you actually knew who they kind of were all about. You don't get that vibe from the lyrics.
They separate their music from their faith, it seems like a lot. I don't even hear it in their lyrics very often. So maybe early on a little bit more than today, but yeah.
Yeah, I would say for this one, and I guess it's kind of hard to say it, like have like a fuck God song that doesn't sound edgy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And I'm sure coming from Noel, this is probably like back in the day, dude, I wrote some super edgy shit, dude. I remember when I tried to be a rapper, my first lyric ever was like, I'm going to fuck you in the butt, you stupid slut. So I've read some pretty edgy shit.
You've been listening to way too much Eminem and ICP.
Yeah, I was listening to a fuck ton of ICP, dude.
Yeah.
Y'all can flame me for that in the comments. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, anyways, show me your tattoo.
But yeah, aside from that though, and to show that like I'm really trying to genuinely review this album for what it is, Dark Magician act musically happened to be my favorite off the album because it's got like these really almost like blackened or like maybe not blackened, but like symphonic. There's a lot of like dark symphonic parts, and that's obviously brought on by Mystique, right? That adds all that nuance to the song. But Noel had even said in the interview that the song was missing that Dark Magician aesthetic to it. And obviously you couldn't have had anyone better than Mystique, you know, add those sections in. So I'm assuming she did pretty much all the synth parts for this, but I'll give you an example right here. This is kind of correlates with like the chugs kind of being complemented with some synth parts, and I'll showcase that right now. Fucking love that breakdown too.
Yeah, I love that sound, dude. I never get enough of it.
When we had done that interview, those were those like Egyptian chords that I was talking about. If you heard them, okay. I kind of wish they were like a little higher in the mix to really like kind of showcase them. I think Alex kind of had the idea of like he just wanted this to all like comfortably sit at like comfortable levels within each other. So there wasn't like a whole lot of complexity to the mixing and mastering, but it all sits at a very comfortable level. The same with, you know, kind of the Soul album in a way. Just, you know, obviously done at probably not as expert level, you know, as that one might have been. But as far as a production standpoint, I can't praise Alex enough for being, again, and we've talked about this on the interview, was the impact between the guitars and the drums sit really well. And that's like a sound that we've been trying to achieve in our own music. So, I mean, whatever Alex is doing he's doing a great job, especially for first release. And then that breakdown right there, it was kind of simple, but man, it just fucking hits, dude.
Yeah, no, I love those. I can't give a word to that sound, but it's like a woof.
Yeah,
it's a woof of the speaker. You know, like it has like there's air behind it in a weird way. I don't know how to explain it, but I always try to achieve that sound, especially when I'm getting into my chugs. I mean, it's just so relevant today. That sound. Yeah, hats off.
Yeah. So the next track goes into track 4, Yamato. This one again is just featuring song Darien. Noel had kind of mentioned that this wasn't really based on him or his poems so much in particular, but more so just a Devil May Cry, based on Devil May Cry lore, which is actually kind of, after reading the lyrics, I don't think I listed any. If you actually read the lyrics, it is very synonymous with Virgil, and even the feel of the song could be characterized as like Virgil's demeanor, because it starts off as, so Virgil within Devil May Cry is like a very like cold, like kind of mechanical, very patient dude, where his brother is like super fucking edgy and over the top. But so it kind of starts out with like this slow burn riff, but then about a minute in, it quickly switches up to a super like frenzy track. And what I mean by that is you get the snare hitting a lot. It just the tempo goes kind of haywire at about the minute mark. So I can definitely see how this song would be inspired by Virgil, whose like whole like MO is like all of a sudden very patient, very reserved, into like just swift, like endless calculated strikes. That's kind of like the vibe I was getting from this album. I wasn't like too huge on the first minute, that slow burn. I definitely would probably skip that part to get into the meat of the potatoes of the song. But overall, it's a solid song. I don't have too much to say about it, though. Finally, we're getting into the last track, Bite, again featuring Darien on harsh vocals. But then for cleans, it is featuring Mike Semeski, who did vocals for The Heart Machine and Intervals.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
That's a big feature.
Obviously, Mystique and Mike Semeski give it that real flavor to the album. According to Noel, Spite reference is like a reference to Tokyo Ghoul, and that's kind of what the song premise is about. But he found, after kind of writing the song and writing the lyrics, that he actually identified with the song on a much deeper level, because he just flat out said, he's like, yeah, I'm pretty spiteful as a person. So he's like,
fair enough.
All right. Well, I love the way the song just starts out with Mike's fucking cleans that come here, and I'm going to showcase that here shortly. Love that opening riff too. Now, after talking to Noel and then listening to it again, dude, I realize everything he's talking. I love the unpredictability of this album. I love that he keeps switching it up. You know, obviously each song kind of has their choruses, like that's kind of the traditional part of it. But I mean, each verse and like bridge is like just takes you on this fucking journey that you're just not even expecting. And while it's not like over the top, like with, you know, these guitar leads necessarily, the grooves are, you know, where it really all the flavor for the album is, because it's constantly changing up and down and just like fucking blaring you out. I don't want to say blaring you out, but just like keeps you on your toes, because you can't really catch a rhythm, but it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because it feels very like a progressive album, which I love. Now, that might not be palatable to everybody. Progressive metal's very acquired taste, but for me personally, I'll take that any day of the week over just, you know, the traditional verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so that's just my takeaway. And then I'm going to play, because this probably had one of the best breakdowns on it besides Dark Magician, in my opinion. I'm going to play that now.
transition right there.
Right, dude, I fucking love that part. That was such a beautiful, that was actually my praise for that, was like the way they came out of the breakdown. Because I feel like that's a hard thing for a lot of these bands, because everybody wants to do the drop and the slow fucking breakdown, but they don't know how to come out of it, you know, a lot of times, dude. So going back into the groove is the perfect way to come out of it. Yeah, that was the end song. Perfect song to end on. Yeah, song ends with Mike's cleans, and it's just a perfect way to not only close out the song, but just the album altogether, because it almost feels like the album starts in such a way and then it ends on the same kind of like vibe. So you kind of like, it's like a good aftertaste, right? It's like it starts off slow, you get all this fucking flavor in the middle, and then it just slowly fades out the way it needs to on a similar note that it began. Just a perfect way to end the album.
Nice.
Beyond that, I would say, so top 3 songs for me were at number 1, Dark Magician, at number 2, Spite, and then number 3, Acid Downpour. Yamato didn't do much for me as a track. Solid frenzy track, not much to say though. There wasn't much that like kind of jump off the page for me. And then Going Ghost was a really good title track, really groovy, but I just made a top 3 since we were doing an EP.
That's fair. I do know just from my initial listen to now, after hearing just kind of your breakdown of it, definitely Spite was the one that jumps out at me. And I know that was an early release, right?
Yeah, I think he had showcased singles of Acid, Downpour, and Spite.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember Spite hitting my Spotify at some point. Yeah, and it was, the whole reason we're doing this review is probably because Spite is what got to me. And I think probably you before the whole entire EP did. So if I remember correctly. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely good. And it's still probably, I have a feeling it'll still be my favorite track off the EP. It's just a solid song.
A lot of people share that same opinion as well, because I believe that Spite is the most played track
on Spotify,
according to Spotify, despite it being the last track on the album.
Makes sense. Did you give it a score?
Yeah, I'm just going to run through the pros and cons real quick.
I'll go for it.
So for the pros, Going Ghost, it just kind of manages to be super catchy and groovy while also experimenting with, dark themes and sounds. And that's where those symphonics and nuances kind of come in. It's very atmospheric. And I think that part of it, you can really kind of see through Alex's lens. I think he kind of gives those nuances in the production as well. I didn't really ask him, exactly who did what, but I'm sure it's a combined effort in all of it, with Noel kind of leading the ship and, Alex giving it the flavor that it needs. Yeah, I would say for a first release, the production was surprisingly good. And I really enjoyed the inside of the album and how it kind of told the story of Noel and his hardships, and using this as like a creative outlet to, just drive his passion and kind of get beyond whatever traumas he had in the past. So it was just fun as fuck to listen to. And then all the features of the album really gave it the variables it needed to just make it a fun listen. So I would say for the cons for me, I think there were I noticed with the mix, it kind of felt like, obviously Alex is much more knowledgeable in this than I would be. I would say, because I had listened to it on multiple systems to get ambience and different settings I could out of it, it felt like the mix was kind of set up where like the drums felt a little more forward. So it was almost like I was watching a band from behind the stage, right? Like, and then the drums are in front of me, and then you have the guitars, and then you kind of have the vocals way up front. That's kind of how the mix felt. Not like on a bad degree to where it ruined it at all. It's just the drums definitely felt closer. Kind of calling back to Dark Magician and some of the edginess. Probably could have thought of a better way to write certain parts, but I would say overall, none of it left a bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? And again, poetry can be kind of edgy too, right? So, maybe that's just a product of that. So overall, I am going to we did come up with a metric finally. Well, G-Spot did to, better give these scores on a more well thought out level. But this one for me was still kind of based on feeling, but I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Nice. Very good.
So well done, Noel and Alex. And like they said, they're working on a full length. And I think though there's some room for growth, obviously, can be said about any new project. But dude, I think they're just going to go on to write some of the best shit ever that I'm just going to continue to enjoy for years down the road. So yeah, good job, guys.
I think from what I've heard and from my past experience of listening to the album, I can't agree with you. Both these bands, actually, in terms of being their first release, it blows my mind that bands can achieve this right off the bat. And then this is what they're going to grow from is what's actually even more amazing. So, and we did see this with a band recently where we're seeing more of that like next evolution with Off Sulfur, who just released their album, who's a fairly new band, fairly new project. And their first release is just stellar. And everything they had before that was great too.
Yeah.
Just the level of growth was insane. And I think these bands are probably going to be around the same if I have to guess. They're also my boys. So
yeah, I would also say to like Off Sulfur's credit is Ricky Hoover was also in Suffocate years ago. So he has a longer background within music, but he himself has, gone on to basically say how much he's grown as a vocalist, throughout the years to where like he's just in his prime now and just at his best.
That's fair. Yeah, that might separate him a little bit. All right, so I think it's time to get into the Leyka Requiem review. And I say it like that because I've messed it up every single time. So
before you get too into it, do you want to kind of share with them your basis for how we're going to score them?
Sure. Just like Solaire said, he kind of based his score off of feeling. The way that we're going to go forward is we're going to break down so we have more consistent scores. We have like a structure to scoring. So there's 6 categories that we're going to break it into. And then also we're going to have like a bonus one that will give extra points. Each of those categories is going to be broken down, 0 to 5, all the way to 5, 5 being like the best thing ever, 0 being like it wasn't even worth listening to or is just complete garbage. Those categories are originality, technicality, lyrical content, song structure, variability from song to song, and then predictability. So kind of the inverse, like, is it unpredictable? I think is important. If you can predict everything is going to come next, it's going to get kind of boring. The bonus is concept. Like, we have a bunch of concept albums, and sometimes concepts, I think, make an album that maybe is a little lower on the spectrum in terms of score, but if it just has a really good concept, then I'll probably end up liking it more. So that's my thought process there. We add a little bonus just in case it gets low because they spent more time on concept than they did on all these other pieces. Yeah. So each of those is 0 to 5, add them up, average them out, then add the bonus on top is the idea. So going forward, that's how we're gonna do it.
Cool. I'm excited to hear what you got on Leyka.
Yeah, we'll jump right into it. So band name is Leyka. Leyka's from Mainz, Germany. They're really cool guys. We just actually got off an interview with them. We had a great time talking to them. So check that out. If you're listening to this, by the time this is out, I'm sure that interview will be out as well. They just released on March 17th this EP, which is called Requiem. The EP length is about 20 minutes. It has 5 tracks on it. And they have 4 band members. Fabrizio. Hopefully, sorry I messed that up.
Fabrice.
Yeah, Fabrice. Tom, Phil, and then I'm not sure how you say his nickname. His nickname's harder to say than his actual name, which is Philip Canali. I don't know. That's what they put on their thing. So, and the guitarist, Eve. That's the band lineup. So they did go through some changes recently just with the drummers. So the drummer who wrote the drums on this EP, to my understanding, he wrote it, but he's no longer in the band. So the new drummer is there. So 5 tracks, Twentyseven, Wolves, Requiem, title track, Orange, and Fences. They're all roughly 3 to 4 minutes long. They got 1 feature on the EP. That's by Jorn Engelhardt, who's in a band called Call It Tragedy, which is actually, if you go listen to that band's from Germany, and they're also pretty good, very genty, very clean production, kind of in the same vein as Leyka. So this EP, this is their first release as a band, and they had 27, which is the single. It was out for a while. That was their only song for a while. And I believe they released Wolves after that, and then Orange came later, and then they dropped the other 2 songs in the full EP.
Yeah.
We're just going to dive right into this song. So this is a metalcore band, definitely. They call themselves metalcore. So there's breakdowns, there's clean vocals, there's harsh vocals. You're going to see a lot of that. I think what you're going to hear a theme through here is overall about the EP. I really liked the lyrical content. I really, really enjoyed, and then the breakdowns. So that's where my samples are gonna lie a lot. So we're going to start with 27. I'm looking at the video. That's the breakdown is specifically what I was going after there. In the video, there's some pretty hilarious parts of Eve friggin' like making funky faces and stuff, which is pretty hilarious. And especially since we just met up with them like an hour ago. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That song, so you're going to find that the vocals, the cleans, I've heard some people just have problems with the cleans, which isn't something that is uncommon in our realm, especially when you talk to people who are more into deathcore and things like that. Cleans are kind of a controversial subject. So their cleans do sound like what you heard, that you're going to hear a lot of that throughout the album, but also that breakdown, the way it was structured, it wasn't just one quick breakdown and then jumped right back into the song. Actually, they kind of stretched them out and have multiple parts to them. So that's the part they're giving it a lot of pedestal, if you will. So I enjoy that part of them. They put a blah in there, that's cool. The blah.
Yeah.
That was their initial release. And by my understanding, we did a reaction to that song. That was like their kind of more safe song, and they were saving the more flavorful stuff for later on that. So
yeah, I could see that one. That's definitely what's going to appeal to the masses. And I would say like, if you're a fan of like Bullet for My Valentine and stuff, like that's the song that's going to be right up your alley, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we said that when we first reacted to it. I mean, it's definitely got the Bullet for My Valentine, I'd say softer end of metalcore, but I mean, it's a good track. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any it is very safe, but that's okay. You don't have to be super over the top with everything. I know that's kind of where metal's going in a way. If they're just trying to push the bounds on, everything just being super extreme, it's okay to fucking reel it back every now and again.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm really big fan of the screams, though, in this band and the guitar. Their tones are just like on point. The production's on point, and that's the part that I really like.
Yeah.
Going to the second track is Wolves. Wolves. Solaire said I don't say that. I guess I say wolves. Wolves, like a dog woofing. I don't know. Anyways, today's the day when I really think about, we have all this mental health and self-reflection, lyrical music. So I'm being very self-reflective right now. Wolves has a feature by Jorn Engelhardt, as I said before, from Call It Tragedy. I'm going to bring in this clip, which starts at 1:15 in the track. I like that background guitar.
Yeah.
That's one little flavorful track. So a little bit more. You're getting actually that technique he's doing on the guitar is kind of like a hammer-on pull-off type thing. It's almost got a bluesy feel to it. So a little bit more, flavor that we're getting from them there. This next part, or this next clip I'm going to play, takes place at the 3-minute mark. And they kind of do this like anthem thing, like bands do like kind of the sing-along, chorus or something like that. So this is actually my con on the album, is that part, they executed it really well. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. I wish they had done more of it and expanded it across the EP. I really think they can get more like crowd interaction and things like that from it. The type of music they do, the anthem-y style stuff, is really lends itself well to it.
Yeah, hit me with it.
At the 3-minute mark. see how you only got it once at the very beginning of that, like, kind of breakdown-y part. I wish they had done that more and gotten some more crowd interaction type situations going on, because I think that, like I said, it lends itself perfectly to their type of music. They could have longer, more repeating of it, that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I would say for that song, again, I had listened through the album, but my main focus was on Lil Kool Aid. I definitely enjoyed the Of Wolves track, probably the most, or it's definitely one of my favorites off the album for sure.
Yeah, I like the premise of it. The idea of like the wolves beating down your door, like sitting outside, like you're in your head and there's all these things like there that seemingly are getting ready to attack you. And it's all about mental
paranoia
and insomnia, that type of stuff. I thought it was a good concept. Actually, they got a couple bonus points for me on that one because I like the concept of wolves.
Well, and you know what's really cool? I mean, you can tell a little bit with the cleans that there's, you know, these guys might be from another country, but you can't really tell it all with Tom's like false chords, which I mean, it'd be kind of difficult to do anyways. But I think, you know, after speaking with Tom and us kind of getting past the initial like language barriers that were, you know, in place, and they, you know, they started to kind of open up, and, you know, we did get some back and forth in the interview. I mean, it turned out to be a great interview in my opinion. Yeah, I would say these guys are definitely still well versed within the English language based on the lyrics, because sometimes you get like when people try to use English lyrics, you know, they're not English speaking, sometimes they don't know the correct verbiage, so things can come off super cheesy. And I think they did a really good job of like translating their thoughts into English, which has got to be super fucking difficult, right?
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they're going around speaking Deutsch.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Which is something I said to a German once, expecting him to go, yes, I speak English, but I didn't realize this Deutsch is not English. The next track, moving on, is Requiem. Let's see, Requiem. Wolves? Then Requiem. This this one kind of deviates lyrically from the rest of the songs on the EP, because the rest of it's more about like stuff in your head, right? Friendships and, you know, how those affect you and the mental health behind it, insomnia, like kind of mental health things going on. This track's actually about the human toll on the planet and how we're just not doing anything about it. So this is like an ode to the earth that they made. There's a really cool line, or a really cool breakdown rather, at about the 225 mark. Yeah, so if you hear that track, like it starts off with sirens, it's all about warnings and, you know, the climate change, that type of stuff. So it was kind of a cool departure from the mental health stuff. Kind of separates itself from the rest of the tracks in that way.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next track, which would be Orange. Spoiler alert, my two favorite songs on the EP are probably the last two songs, and Orange being one of them. Again, another breakdown. I think that's the highlight of this album. They just have some good, solid bridges and breakdowns that separate everything they got going on. And I really like the lyric to this breakdown, so I'm going to go to it. Like I said, it may seem like I just compiled the best breakdowns on the album, but that I really think is the highlight. Everything that surrounds those breakdowns is good. You can't just have a breakdown without something good surrounding it, right? You got to lead into it right, and you got to come out of it right, which they do pretty expertly as well. But the breakdowns were definitely the highlight throughout the whole entire EP.
I'd agree.
The line, "When being a friend hurts," I love that.
That's a
line.
good one.
I love that line.
At first, I thought he said like being offended, so I thought it was like a song about cancel culture.
About wokeism. Yeah.
Like
No,
two friends, it's like, I can't believe you called that guy a retard. You're no longer my friend.
So I got some, they sent me like kind of the meaning of the lyrics and all that stuff. And that's definitely about a friend. I believe Tom wrote this song, if I remember correctly off the top. But it's a friend who he was a kind of a pathological liar and just was very in his life and that friend ended up going through a hard time. And the writer of the song ended up, really trying to help that person out, finding out that everything was just all a ruse. It was all BS and bullshit. And it's just like the toxicity that was involved, the kind of betrayal of that. So that's where that line comes from, when being a friend hurts, which is a cool way to think about it. Like you were just being a friend and someone hurt you. Like that's fucked up. It's like, I'm just here being a friend, dude. Like, why are you messing with me?
But something I want to shout out, especially with this video in particular, was and I had mentioned this in the interview, but how well done the cinematography was for this video.
Oh yeah,
dude, can you imagine being a fresh ass band and then just like watching yourself in like essentially like what's like cinema levels of like production? This music video is good as anything you would see with like a Kill Switch video, in my opinion. Just if you were to view it through the same lens, dude, like the way it was shot, the actors in it all did a great job. I mean, the contrast, the lighting, everything about it was just really well done. They did say it was kind of funny because I've never been on a set. I don't know what goes into like film whatsoever. They said they had to like do like 15 to 20 takes, and like that shit just gets fucking old, dude. So thanks for powering through it, because the final product was really well done.
Yeah, and I really appreciated the obvious thing they did with it, which is that most of the video is orange. They really figured out how to work that in.
Yeah.
It's the details. You know what I mean? I hope someone sees a shit-eating grin on my face, because that was the dumbest thing I've ever said. Anyways, we should go on to
the last track, right?
The last track. So I'm burning through these pretty quick. So the last track is Fences. The clip I'm going to play is about 2:30. Fences is my favorite song on the album. It definitely took cake. Again, bridge breakdown is where it happened, but this one does something different than the rest of the EP. It really takes this, as you can hear, I'm sure, Soler, you hear this, all of this stuff has been very metalcore.
Yeah.
Very, very metalcore. In this bridge, they reach like kind of almost deathcore levels, the sound of the guitar, the way the lyrics go. I was very like blown away when I first heard this, especially since it's the last track on the EP. So I got a rundown of basics and the advanced stuff of metalcore through the first 4 tracks. And then you get to this one and they just threw something at you that's like kind of out of nowhere. You're like, whoa. So the first time I heard it, I listened to it like 20 times in a row, because I was like, how good was that? Because I wasn't expecting it at all. So I'm going to play that clip. This takes place at about the 2:30. Yeah, so you see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that shit goes hard as fuck, dude.
Yeah,
I love
that shit is hard as fuck. That's my favorite part of the album, hands down. And even the lyrics there. So we talked about it in the interview, but I'll repeat. It's up on the mountain, I choke on thin air. The dark clouds tell me that I am just a spare. This is about putting up like barriers, right? That illusion to fences, and also they rhyme together, fences and preferences. Choosing the wrong preferences, putting up too many fences is kind of the idea of the hook on the song.
Yeah.
This part is like kind of separating yourself from that. They're labeling out all that stuff going on, like how you're setting up these fences, you're making the wrong choices in your life, and then you step away and you look at your life and you're up on top of a mountain is the illusion that they're making there, and you're choking on the air at what you're seeing. The dark clouds tell me that I'm just a spare, so like I'm nothing,
Yeah.
I love the dark turn that it took for it to get on on those lyrics. I wonder if the lyrics came first. I wish I had asked that in the interview because it just really, really hits home. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and I like the synergy between those lyrics and the music, right? How it does kind of take that dark turn, because I would say in their favor, to be successful, all they need to do is just keep doing what they're already doing, right?
Yeah.
I would really hope that with their full length or whatever their next EP is, that they really explore more of those sounds that they had put into this song, right?
Yeah.
If they kind of start going down that path, I think they really have a really solid sound that they can capitalize on. Maybe not everybody will like it, but I think it'd be really fucking well done if they did. That's just my 2 cents. Either way, they sound great.
So that's a good transition into pros and cons on it. So like I said, I think that they need to explore that anthem style, like the sing-along style, getting the crowd, involved type idea a little bit more. Cause I really think that this sound that they have goes well with that. And live, it just makes, I think when bands do that, it makes it live. Like a great example of that is Structures. Our life is nothing but a means to an end. When they yell that out in the beginning, like who doesn't go yell that out when it happens? So they should have some more of those situations. Cause when I heard it, I was like, ooh, I hope they have more of this. And it never really happened again in the EP. So that was one downfall. The other one is Fences. And really my cons are, I wish they did more of something they already are doing or capable of doing. And that's that turn, that really dark turn that almost brought it in the realm of deathcore on that last one, Fences.
Yeah.
I really hope that they expand upon that or do like a whole song like that even, because they have that in them. Really broke up the monotony of the whole entire EP, because the EP is very metalcore, right?
Yeah.
And I like the idea of them drawing on different influences out of there. This is their first EP, and both of these bands that we reviewed today, this is their first EPs, their first releases. And I think it's a good idea to be consistent on all your tracks so people know who you are.
Yeah.
To start off.
Yeah, you got to kind of create like your basic identity, like your foundation, right? Like what is this? And obviously, I mean, sometimes that takes a little refining over the years.
Yep.
And like I said, for both Leyka and Lil Kool Aid, I'm not worried at all that they're going to go on to have like some success.
Oh yeah.
Right now, Leyka is probably leading as far as like, a success story goes, because everybody's kind of like focused through reaction videos and stuff like that. People are definitely catching wind of Leyka. So they're going to be, whatever path they go down, I think they're going to be successful. When a lot of your influences, because like I said before, very reminiscent of Bullet for My Valentine. I hear a lot of I Killed the Prom Queen, which is one of my personal favorites.
Yeah.
But if they take that, but explore some of the more darker sounds, like kind of blending with deathcore, I think they could really have something special here.
Yeah, agreed. I hope that I hear actually influence wise, I don't know if they know of this band, but I hear the vibe in it is It Dies Today as well. I hear a lot of that in there. I hope they expand on those things that they kind of jumped out and did. As far as a first EP, I think this is really solid. They have a lot of things that they can expand upon. And we know who Leyka is now.
Yeah.
I know I do. So their next thing can be an evolution. Now, who is Leyka today, rather than introducing as a whole entire concept.
Right.
And that goes for Lil Kool Aid as well.
Yeah.
So as you know, my top 2 tracks were Fences and Orange in 1 and 2. My overall score, and I'll do the breakdown since we explained what that all is. I did originality, technicality, lyrical content, song structure, variability, and predictability. I gave them the highest score in lyrical content. I think they did a real good job with the lyrics. They did a good job of like giving me all the documents so I can understand what they're saying, which isn't what I get with a lot of bands. So I actually got to read into it. Also, the band, Philip and Tom both gave me like a rundown of what their lyrics mean to them. So that's probably what set them apart. I don't know if I would have given them such a high score if I hadn't gotten that. Sometimes with the guttural lyrics, it's kind of hard to tell what they're saying. So,
Fair.
In this case, I gave them a pretty high there. I would say low, I went on technicality and originality. I think they're capable of a lot more and having a lot more. But like I said, on the first EP, I might be being a little strict on that. And then predictability, I put them right in the middle, because I would say the first 3 tracks were pretty predictable. I could tell what was coming next. next.
Yeah.
And then the Orange and Fences specifically had a lot of things that like came out of nowhere that I could not predict at all. So it got a little bump there. Also, I like the lyrical allusions like fences, wolves, and the things that they were talking about.
Yeah, being very metaphorical.
Yeah, it's exactly what I'm trying to say. So even though that's not like a concept, especially the wolves concept, because I just like wolves, I think they're cool. So they got a little extra bonus from me on that one. So I gave them a 3.3 altogether. But I think that if their next EP, their next release, whatever it is, if they just expand upon some of the ideas they already have in this EP, I could easily put this band up at a 4 or a high 3, which for me means that it's really great. I would just put it at it's a good solid first release is where I would put it today.
Absolutely. And that was something we had talked about. You know, we judge these EPs based off their own merits, which, like we said before, you know, if we're reviewing, say this is Leyka's third release or whatever, you know, we have their whole discography to kind of compare it to and judge it based off that. You know, for the first EP, you know, we I don't want to say lenient, but we're, I guess, kind of forgiving in certain aspects too, because I mean, they're already doing way better than I could hope to do with my own music. You know what I'm saying? And so having said that, I think these are very fair scores that we're giving them. Again, I didn't have the metric base yet, so Lil Kool Aid was kind of based more on a feeling. Anyways, I would say for Leyka, if I had to just give my 2 cents based off, you know, my initial impressions off it, I would like to see a little more diversity in the clean aspect. But again, I think these are both bands that are just going to continue to grow and continue to get better. And I'm really, really excited, you know, to see what they come up with, because they both seem like artists that want to vastly improve, you know, with each release, with each, you know, song.
Yeah.
You know, maybe Leyka's kind of playing it safe a little bit, but it's smart, right? Because again, like you have these, like Take the Tech, who's getting 11,000 views, you know, reacting to their songs right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it is very palatable. So yeah, I'm excited to see where they go next. And I thought both bands did great jobs, and I'm happy to call them friends now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I'd agree with you on the cleans. I think that's what I was getting at with the anthems. Have something else in there. Is the anthem could be a good way to add something, a different flavor or something in there against the cleans as well. So I think that about wraps it, man. What do you think?
Yeah, dude. Again, thanks to Noel, Alex from Lil Kool Aid. Thank you to Tom and Eve from Leyka for giving us endless amount of information and insight into the bands. This is probably the most insight we've had for one of our reviews, so that's much appreciated. Again, we're going to put links in our descriptions for both EPs if you guys want to go check those out. And I would say, just to end on it, like, subscribe, all the fucking NPC bullshit. Yeah, I think we're going to start showing our faces more. I know I'm fucking ugly, but that just adds to the flavor of the reaction videos when we release them, dude.
Yeah,
we actually look like the Titans we were talking shit about, dude.
Yeah,
earlier.
We are the Titans with those stupid ass smiles. Yeah, I got a definite last PSA. If you have juggernaut-like strength, make sure there aren't women in your path before you fucking go off and bash through a wall. That's PSA 1. I think that's kind of the whole point of this podcast today.
Also, I want to say real quick is, for anybody that's getting, you know, genuinely offended, I'm sorry. We don't mean to offend people, but also get fucked.
And if you decide, because you can, that you're going to be a large person who goes around eating others, have fucking genitals. Just have genitals. At least make it fun when I'm getting eaten. I don't want some
dude, that
genitals.
was one thing I didn't get to mention, but I thought, like, you know, them coming to fuck the little people would still be great, even if they didn't have genitals. Like, they're just rubbing them on places. Like,
there are some parts where they're pretty much like, if they had genitals, they'd be having sex with like buildings, like for like 4 episodes straight. So yeah, it's probably good that they don't, because they'll get kind of awkward.
The implications of like giant dong swinging, dude. Like,
there definitely is one scene where like they're just sitting in a room, and like the window shows like genital-less areas, like smashing against a window. It's like, it'd be kind of funny if fucking balls, like just whole time.
If that was another variable you had to worry about too, like you're on horseback and all of a sudden like this just fucking pendulum dong just fucking swings and just like fucking takes you and your horse out, dude.
We're on this side of the wall. There's no Titans here. And then just a giant dick slaps you off the ground.
Yeah. It just comes over the wall, just the dick.
Climbs up it. Yeah.
We're on to something there,
Yeah,
dude. That's why they don't
something.
have fucking genitals, dude. They would have gotten over the wall.
We need to make a real world Attack on Titan where the giants have genitals. Actually, that already exists. It popped up on my UJIS. Anyways, have fun, y'all.
Give me the code. I want to watch it later. The hentai code. I need
All
it.
right.
All right.
I think we're out. Word to your moms.
Praise the sun. Now I can do this.
Oh, there you go.